and welcome. We have with us today Harshbeena Zaveri, the CEO and Vice Chairman of NRBBearings. And I'm so happy to have you with us, Harshbeena. You've been a trailblazer in manufacturing and engineering, breaking barriers, setting new benchmarks. I'm looking forward to this conversation and how.
Me too. We've been really having very interesting conversations on the phone, and I was excited to meet you.
Super. I'm just as equally excited, and I'm looking forward to hearing so many of your stories, your inspiring background. And let's just start with you being a part of NRB, joined NRB back in 1987. And just let us know your story from back then. Was it difficult as a woman?
So I joined NRB not intending to stay there. There were many reasons why my father really wanted me to come in as a successor. And I wanted to study law, and I was supposed to go back to the US, and I told him that I would come for a few years to understand the business so that I would have that as a background, and maybe later on, if there were any reasons that I needed to guide the company, that knowledge would help me. So as a result, I decided in a fairly German way to join as a shop floor apprentice. So I'm actually one of the few management staff that we have who joined on the shop floor as an apprentice, and I spent 2 years in almost every single department there. I wanted to get to know the people, I wanted to understand the processes, and I really wanted to understand the heart and the core of what we were all about. I ended up staying there because there was one challenge after another challenge and another challenge that the company was facing. They were fairly difficult times, and I think that my perspective, because I wasn't an insider, was an outsider's perspective, and sometimes people thought that it gave them that breakthrough and just caused enough excitement in my heart to stay there.
Lovely.
But your second question, was it difficult?
Was it difficult?
It was definitely difficult. It was difficult in every way. I had actually graduated, I'm a culture specialist. I graduated in urban anthropology and in urban planning. So physical design is very important to me because it creates the culture. Along with that, understanding people was very important to me. Apparently in manufacturing companies, they consider this a soft skill, okay? But frankly, anything that you want to do involves people. And therefore, culture and people at the core of everything that I do. When I came up with an initiative that was not very popular to set up our own R&D center. It was considered completely, one, unheard of, and secondly, a waste of money, because what I was told is you have the best technology partners, because we did. We were co-founded as a Indo-French company. The French company by then had been sold to Renault's bearing company and Indo-German bearing company, American, the #1 American company in the world and one of the strongest French groups in the world, Renault and their bearing company. So it's not that we had a shortage of technology the way it's generally understood in joint ventures, but you know, that is always old technology. It's never forward-looking innovation, and I felt that India could be a very disruptive player, and I had a lot of blocks, a lot of difficulties trying to get this idea through. But here's the thing. Did I have a hard time at every stage? I had a very hard time. Was that something that I resented? No, not at all, because to be honest, from a cultural perspective, as I said, one of my specialties is social anthropology. Most of the world has a hard time. If you're an Indian in a German company, you have a hard time. Maybe if you're a German who's just sent to India or China or somewhere setting up a plant, you have a hard time. If you are a North Indian in a strongly South Indian company, which is run predominantly, let's say, by, you know, Iyengar or Iyer Brahmins, and you are from another part of the world, you're going to have a hard time. If you're an Indian in a white company, the list can go on and on. If you're a woman, it's not substantially different from all the other situations where people have a hard time because they're not the dominant or the status quo in that effort or in that organization. I always felt that there were more people who were having a hard time than people who were having an easy time. And the people who succeed who have a hard time, they really have to work harder. They have to do their homework better. They have to be more diligent. They have to actually be outstandingly better. For example, my favorite adage used to be that men are promoted on perception. He has great potential.
Yeah.
And women are promoted on performance. You have to perform at least 2-3 times better for people to give you that charm.
That is so true.
So I think that's my philosophy.
That's so beautiful. I mean, that's the most positive things I've heard about having a hard time, and putting it in your perspective. Is it the Wellesley factor? Brings me to my second question, that, you know, if my research is correct, I think the New York Times did this, and some others did this detailed research on how Wellesley women, they just overpower everyone else. Out of some 390 women in leadership positions, some 19 were from Wellesley College, if I'm not wrong. I think Wellesley College has a strong legacy of women leaders. What is this Wellesley factor? I see that in you already.
Well, it's very interesting. There is an actual Wellesley factor. So if you calculate and look at the statistics of women in extraordinary leadership positions, whether they're CEOs or whether they're heads of hospitals or heads of universities, the first woman who headed, like, it's not an Ivy League, but Stanford definitely stands tall amongst universities and measures up to the Ivy League. So the first woman who headed Stanford Engineering was a Wellesley woman. 2 heads of state have come from Wellesley, Hillary Clinton and Madeleine Albright. That's like a crazy number, right? In Fortune 50 list for almost 10 years in India, out of the 50, there were 2 women who did their undergraduate at Wellesley. And you had, if I'm not making a mistake, not a single woman who did their undergraduate at any of the Ivy League institutions, which were all male. Another very interesting statistic is that Harvard Business School opened for women in 1975. And for 20 years, between 1975 and 1995, more Wellesley women proportionately got into Harvard Business School than Harvard women. Women who done their undergraduate at Harvard. This is proportionate, but still. So how does a college of 2,500 women do this? And there are fundamental reasons why this happened. One, we had a very amazing economics professor called Catherine Shawbell, who believed that for women to make a difference, they should choose non-traditional fields of education. They should actually be encouraged to do it. So it's free choice. We always say it's free choice, but is the choice really free? And when free choice was given to study science, to study economics, and to study anything else, more women, at least at Wellesley, chose to do economics, and more women chose to do STEM than women who went to top-rated co-educational colleges, right? Because you're comparing it at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
And the second factor is role models. So one is to truly have a choice, okay? You don't truly have a choice when you are pushed to choose the more gender status quo option, right?
Yes.
Now, role models are very important. So you ask someone, oh, you should aspire to be the head of the Indo-German Chamber of Commerce, but you haven't had any women heads. But if you aspire to be the head of the Indo-French Chamber of Commerce, of course, Payal is there. So unless you see somebody who's in that position, you feel it's not possible. It's theoretical. You see someone who's lower caste, who wrote the Constitution of India, you know it's possible. Yeah. After all, he didn't write the Constitution of India just because of some kind of, what should I say, it's the right thing to do. I mean, he went to Columbia. He was like an accepted scholar all over, right?
He did it out of lived experiences. basically.
And he had earned it
Yeah.
in a fairer environment in terms of where a more inclusive philosophy at that point of time prevailed.
True.
Everything is at a point of time, so
True.
I'm not making a generalization here.
True.
And therefore, the role models are important. The second factor that's very important is networking. So men do well, not because they're smarter or brighter or anything like that. It's because they have a network. You have a great idea. You need someone to support you when you pitch it. A woman is all alone and all the men are against her in the organization. They are not helping her pitch it. They're helping kill it. So the environment is important. A lot of women who become leaders, they become leaders by resentment. They become leaders by pushing people or feeling, oh, I'm having such a hard time and now that I'm here, I need to keep my position here. And they have like a mother-in-law syndrome. You know, I had a hard time. Why should other women not have a hard time? And that is what is the opposite of Wellesley. Okay, at Wellesley College, we would rather all be just here with all women coming up than be up there looking down at all the other women. And that is a very important part of the Wellesley ethos. We give a lot of time, we give a lot of attention, we give a lot of our personal heart and soul, no matter where we've reached, to other women. That makes sense?
Absolutely.
And to help them become leaders. So here many times people ask me, do you think there should be more women at the workplace? Do you think that the numbers should come up? To be very honest, I'm not concerned about the numbers. I'm concerned about having women in leadership positions, because if they're in leadership positions, they can make a real difference. Having lots of women in my company in the shop floor, and they wake up at 4 in the morning, and then they have to cook everybody's food, and then they don't take care of their health, and they show up and their whole paycheck goes to somebody else, and then they fall sick, and then they're being taunted for working, when they're actually kind of bonded labor from both sides. That's not what I seek. What I seek is women in leadership positions who bring a huge difference and make social change happen. And that is what Wellesley is all about. The third factor, which is very important, is mentoring. And that's what I was talking about. You want a handhold. Mentoring is not meeting somebody once in 6 months or something, the way people in India think it is. Mentoring is hand-holding that person through every difficult part of their life and their career, and also helping them recognize and actualize opportunities. That's
true,
like
yes.
the triangle.
And that's something not understood very well when you talk about mentoring here by many actually. It's like you said, it's one time talking and getting some advice is not mentoring.
Right.
But giving that kind of a human feel and power to the person that you are mentoring is so important.
So you can't make someone be a mentor, you know, it's like leadership. You can't make someone a leader. Leaders are people who have followers, who inspire, there are enough people who believe in them.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. You can't be a mentor because you're famous or rich or run a company, you know, or you're CEO. That doesn't make you a mentor.
True. I think
a mentor is a person who makes a difference to your life, who takes that time when you need advice. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It makes so much sense, and I think there's so much to learn from these lessons, not just personally but also for the HRs of the companies, you know, like you have anything to share where you think the companies can benefit from these kind of institutional or formative experiences, if I may say it that way.
Do you mean to ask me what advice I have for HR? Or
Yes.
do you want me to talk about why we should care about having more women at work?
Actually, both, for that matter, because I think the balance of having more women or having a balance between the genders is a very important topic for the HR anyways. But how to encourage the women in the organizations in this evolving setup of leadership, how to encourage them, how to give them the space that they actually probably they're missing, obviously, because which is why there is a lack of balance. So
So I'm going to twist your question a little bit,
Yes,
okay?
please.
And I'm going to tell you why businesses should care about having more women. Okay, why should a company which is in the business of making money and profit, why should they care about having enough women, as I said, in leadership positions? Because I would like to keep that focus as far as I'm concerned. When I'm speaking, because that's what I'm most passionate about.
Please do.
So I'm going to actually read out some interesting statistics for you, okay?
Yes.
So the primary reason we should be interested in having more women in senior positions is because when you have 10% women on your board and in senior leadership, it's a magic number. Something quite unbelievable happens, okay? And you're going to have to give me a minute, okay, to read out some statistics because this is really my most favorite topic.
Absolutely.
First of all, the reason this 10% is a magic number is because it helps you truly maximize the favorable financial impact that a woman can have on a company's performance. Companies led by women, led by women. I'm not talking about having women at the shop floor level or at the junior level or something like that, okay? Having them at the junior level might make the company more competitive because they pay women far less than they pay men globally. But having a woman CEO, having 10% of women on your board, competent women on your board, not a family member, makes this difference. Companies led by women statistically have higher revenue growth. The market is willing to give a 19% premium price to book multiple to companies with a female CEO. Go check it out, okay? 19% higher return. I'm using statistics of a particular year because, you know, statistics have been very scarce post-COVID and they've only become worse. That means there are less women. So, the numbers and the impact of the women who happen to still be there in this world, which is increasingly difficult for women, are even higher, okay? So, 19% higher return on equity. This is 1920, okay? 2020. This is from the Credit Suisse 3000 gender study, which is a very deep study of corporates led by women.
I'm so glad you
19% higher ROE, the average of such companies, you get the point? It's 19% higher than men-led companies. Obviously, you're comparing women-led companies to men-led companies.
Of course.
The net debt to equity ratio is 10% lower. Women basically don't like to borrow and work with somebody else's money. If they can, they like to be less leveraged. And they like to pay off their debts.
Absolutely.
So, companies with women CEOs have a 9% higher dividend payout than those with male CEOs. And they are, on an average, 3% higher revenue growth. Okay? Then companies that have no representation or less than 10% female representation on the board. In fact, a very interesting game was played, okay? Between 2010 and 2019, if you created a virtual mutual fund, and you looked at the Fortune 500 companies in the world, and you blindly bought a share when a woman became a CEO of a particular company, and you blindly sold it when the woman was replaced by a man. For how many years? From 2010 to 2019? 10 years.
10 years.
Right?
Yes.
Do you know that your mutual fund versus the average Fortune 50 mutual fund would have 19% lower return on ROE?
Is that true? Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's if you're comparing it to the average. If you compare it to women versus only the men, it would even go down more. So my argument to you is different. It's more women in leadership positions and in board positions taken for their capabilities, not for family reasons.
Of course, yeah.
Makes more financial sense.
That is so informative, and I'm glad you
So that's why I carried these statistics when you told me what you were going to ask.
This is so, I'm so glad you did that. So, I mean, we were talking about the balance, but here we see that it actually has to be higher if we need to get that kind of figures and if that's the research.
So that's the reason you see that when
So
a company
beautiful.
has difficulty, like Kering, you know, Kering is this like a Louis Vuitton, okay? It's the third largest, I think, in the world, or maybe the second largest. They own Gucci and lots. So they took the ex-head of Renault, who's a woman, to run the company. Why? Because when you have a lot of difficulty and you don't know what to do and the boat is sinking, then they hand it to a woman, which proves my point.
The feminine energy is what you need at those times, probably.
Well, bright women.
Bright feminine women, yes.
Yeah, bright qualified women.
Bright qualified.
Because they have a harder ability to do both, drive financial numbers and carry people with them. So they have both empathy and capability. And that's a deadly combination.
I was just about to say, that's such a combination. When you have empathy with the knowledge, it can just surpass.
You were also asking me another question just before we started. And it was very interesting and I've been thinking a lot about it. You asked me, what should Indian companies be doing something different from German companies?
Yes.
To encourage more women in leadership.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I've been thinking about that. So,
what do you think?
Yeah.
What do you think?
So I'll tell you the facts again. I'm very statistic driven. I'm very fact driven. If you give me a problem, I'll first study the facts. Okay. I won't go on perception or just my point of view or just my political philosophy or something. And if you actually study the situation globally, women in the corporate world, women in the business world are missing in leadership positions because they're all stuck in the middle. So they join companies at entry level in same numbers almost as men, 50-50 in many countries. Okay? Just like 50% of women go to college.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, right.
And 50% of them get into maybe engineering and IIT and lots of places and all that all over the world.
Yes.
So actually more women get in than men. Fine? So women outperform men academically. There's no question. So how come they don't outperform them in life? Because outperforming in life for women is very different from outperforming other men for men. Okay, it's two completely different skill sets, as I told you about Wellesley. One is about tenacity, one is about role models, one about hanging in there, one about having mentors who tell you, should I quit my job? Or if you're not quitting your job, how will you manage? Learn from me. Learn from how I managed to do it. I did it, you can do it. It's a whole different rubric. But coming here, the fact is that since women are missing in German companies, enough women join, but they even stay.
Okay.
They just don't become
the leaders.
CXO. They don't reach the CXO level position and they don't reach the CEO level position. So they need that triangle, the Wellesley triangle, which is enough role models. So first of all, there should be enough women who are in the leadership position so others can see it's worth the struggle. The second thing is they need networking amongst all the women. You have to encourage them to network, not just do the work and go home to take care of the kids or the house, right? And the third thing is they need mentoring. So that's what German companies need. India is a different story. India is one of the only countries in the world where women are missing at the bottom. Yeah. That means they join and drop out. India is the only country where women drop out between the entry and the mid-level.
Why?
Now, we're not get into why. Obviously, there's social pressure for them not to work and social pressure to have babies. The why is very obvious. The thing is, what should you do as a company about it or an HR department?
Exactly.
Okay? This is why we'll take you into a sociology discussion. And I want to keep this business, okay?
Yes.
I want to focus on business and leadership.
What can the HR do?
So what I suggest is you take women who are already leaders, who've learned to fight, who have the strength to do something different, who have demonstrated their capability not to give in to pressure and to society. and
didn't care about the why.
throw their hands up.
Yeah.
So you should take women in senior positions. HR should not bother taking women in the junior positions. They should straight away try and take and promote those women who are stuck in companies who didn't give up. See, when we're talking about giving up, a certain percentage gives up, but some percentage stays, right? So the percentage, for example, women who took maternity leave and then took a gap after that, don't hire them, please. Why would you want to hire those women who couldn't even hang in there and go back to their companies after taking salary for 9 months? They took salary from the company for 9 months and then they decided not to go back. Why would you again give them salary? Choose women who have shown strength, leadership capabilities and tenacity and persistence. Hire those women, focus there, and you will get a different outcome.
I think that's just wealth of knowledge. I am so glad you said that, and I'm sure it's not just women aspiring to becoming leaders or see themselves as future leaders that we are talking to right now. It's businesses, it's HR. I'm so glad with all these research. I don't even know if there's more thing that I can kind of add to this, not at all. But just to round it up all, or just to have that one question that I had in mind throughout, was that you also champion the leap of NRB into R&D and design engineering. You're best known for that. Just tell us something to wind it up all. I mean, I think.
Yeah, that is what I'm most passionate about in NRB. Two things actually, people. Because at the end of the day, everything is about people, right? Capital, machines, buildings, you can always build those. You can always borrow money, you can always get that. But really people who make a difference are important. And in this particular case, to believe that we could do design engineering from scratch, that we could do disruptive innovation, really needed me to prove that it's possible. And just like the women I'm talking about, the men that I took, okay, for this. For example, when we started, and I had this idea, I didn't take BTechs from IIT because all of them just want to join IT companies and banks and investment management. And I said, let them. I took MTechs because they loved engineering and they had often come from regional colleges to IIT because they didn't have the ability to go through all those exam tests. Maybe they weren't rich enough to be trained. So they believed in engineering. They believed in innovation. And they believed in India. So when I took them for being able to challenge and not feel, oh, only a German company can give me technology, only a Japanese company can. They felt they could build something together. So again, it's about belief, and then it's about process, and then it's about resources, and then it's about making it happen. So we made a vision by 2005, make 5, okay, which means go and get 5 customers which are global leaders. And believe it or not, it took us 1 year more, but by 2006-07, we had Renault and Volvo. I mean, for the next generation platform, 100% share of business. You get my point? Then we got Daimler. This whole thing completely changed people's belief in themselves, right? And today, we design products for the next generation. You'll be hard pressed to find a BMW or a Mercedes car or truck. We supply ZF. I mean, our products go literally everywhere to 23 countries. We have other customers where they go to 43 countries, and we are powering next generation hybrid, next generation EV, and next generation ICE if I stays, because we are in all three. And also in the industrial applications, whether it's, construction equipment, we're in marine, we're in wind, we really stand tall next to global leaders. And what's interesting is we choose to innovate where we want to be. So we pick the most exciting application. So we're a smaller company. So we can pick and choose, right? It's like if you have a boutique hotel, which is one of the highest brands, you don't have to service everyone. You can decide, this is what I want to service. And I think it's so exciting for us. And we have really helped the German companies we supply become more competitive. where it matters, and faster, because the other strength that we have is we use German, Japanese, I would say American technology mindsets, but we are more customer focused in terms of more flexible in our thinking. We want to make the customer happy. We're not like, this is my process, you have to follow it. So there are advantages culturally that our company has, along with ensuring that we work harder like those women. We try harder, right? We prepare better, and we have a strong vision and true belief to achieve it. And now we have a plan that is exponentially going to make us grow for assorted reasons. We had a family settlement and we couldn't grow as fast as we wanted. But today we can grow as fast as we want. And that's all my company is working on, and everybody's so excited about the future.
That's brilliant. And you think being a part of Indo-German Chamber of Commerce as a member helps?
Of course it helps. The Indo-German Chamber goes every inch of the way. When we set up our German company, I can't tell you how much simpler it was to set it up in Germany than somewhere else, because we did not have to go to some consultants. We did not have to go and ask other companies, how did you do it? Maybe the experience wasn't the same. Really, I mean, the Indo-German Chamber was amazing, and I'm sure it continues to be. And people should take advantage of everything that they have and the resources that they are constantly supporting us all with.
Wonderful. I think that's a very beautiful note to end our conversation, but this conversation could go on. We should do another such, because the knowledge and energy and the enthusiasm that I have felt through this conversation, I am sure the listeners are going to feel the same. Thank you so much for your time, for sharing this story with us. I look forward to our next conversation.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.